Alright, so this lesson, ladies and gentlemen, this lesson is from Law of Cosines. Okay. Alright, so I have this triangle here, example 1. And what I want you to do is with your partner, I want you to say, why can you not use law of sines? Law of sines is actually the easiest to use. So I want you to look at this and figure out why can't you use the one we did yesterday. So don't tell me right now, but I want you to look at it and tell why you cannot use law of sines. If you don't remember law of sines, remember, I'll put it over here. Sine of A over little a is equal to sine of B over B. I want to know why you cannot use that right there. So, the reason we cannot use this is because remember, you'd have to either have another angle, and there's no way we can find out the other angle, so we can't use law of sines when it comes to when you don't have a way of finding another angle. So, what can we use? It's called law of cosines. It is c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cos of big C. And that's a multiplication. Right there. Yeah, it's minus, yeah, because it's kind of from the Pythagorean theorem, yep. So this is a minus, it's on the outside. Because I spaced it out so much, there's really no parentheses. I just spaced it out so much. No, it's just cosine squared is equal to a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cos of C. I just had such a big space, I want to make sure you knew it was a multiplication. That's what the formula really looks like. But this means multiply, so that's why I just put it there so you knew it's multiply. Alright, biggest thing, ladies and gentlemen, this is the most important thing. You have to figure out what A, B, and C are first. I could call this, I'm going to call this B, A, and C just for the point of what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter what your label is here. What matters is to understand the formula. It says that you have to find the angle you're using, and the one directly across from it is your C from this formula. Alright, so you have to find the angle you're using, even that this really is little b in this form, it doesn't matter. You're looking, what angle am I using, and across from that is where we have here. So, what angle are we using? 84.5. What is across from 84.5? X. So that means it's x squared is equal to, A and B does not matter, it's the other two sides. So we have 510 squared plus 720 squared minus 2 times 510 times 720 cosine of 84.5. Yep, and I'm going to make this bigger. And yeah, we're going to. Yep. So, throw all of this into your calculators, ladies and gentlemen.
Is this the whole thing?
The first C and the last C are different.
This is big C, this is the side C. Yep.
Times the cosine, like we would do 2 times.
So you're going to go in your calculator, you're going to go 510 squared plus 720 squared and 22 minus 2 times 510 times 720 times cosine of 84.5. See if you guys can get the answer of 70811.88. If you didn't get that, make sure you do it. Yep.
Square root and then everything under it could just go to 510 squared plus 720 squared.
Yeah, we're going to eventually, yep. But I'm going to show you a different way to do it too. Just see if you can punch this in just to see if you can get that answer first.
So this square root
Yeah, dude. If you want.
Now,
I could give it-
what I want you guys to do is we have to take the square root of both sides. I want you to take x equals, ladies and gentlemen, the square root of your answer. I don't want you to retype this in. I actually want you to find the square root in your answer key.
What?
And you should get
How do you do that?
841. I'll come around and help you guys.
I already cleared my calculator.
What if I plug the answer in?
You could possibly get it wrong because it might, if you
I got
round
it.
here, I know, but if you, it worked this time. But if
Oh,
you
yeah.
round this, if you round here and then you round there,
Yeah.
it's
double
your,
rounding.
yeah. So you want to make sure that's why you do your second answer. All right. Here's our next one. Example 2. Given A equals 8, B equals 10, and C equals 12, we are going to find angle A.
How many examples are there?
2.
Oh.
So that we all have the same, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to call this A, we're going to call this one B, and top C. And that's the big C. I want you to put your little people, your little sides, huh? It's not a right triangle. Because if it's right triangle, then we use our trig functions. It's not an equilateral triangle because one's 8 and one's 10. I just looks equilateral right now. It's not drawn to proportion. So, I want you to put 8, 10, and 12 where they go.
So would we do like the 12 squared plus?
Don't worry about that. I'll show you the first one and you can find the other ones. Little a goes across from big A.
Oh.
So where would little b go? All you're doing is setting up the triangle.
And then C goes across
Tomorrow.
Very good. All right.
Yeah, I learned.
And if you don't have an angle, then you're just gonna do it. Technically, what you're gonna do is the inverse.
Well, you can't use Pythagorean theorem because Pythagorean, I know, the cosine.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right. So we are finding here. We are finding this angle. Okay,
Talk about these.
I don't care. Time out.
That would be funny.
All right. So biggest thing we always have to do is we have to find what angle we are using. That is our C. So when we have C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine of C. What is little c? What number, think in your head, 12, 8, or 10, what you think little c is? Okay, now I will restate. This is the hardest concept about law of cosines. You have to find what angle you are using, and the one across from it is your c squared. So what are we finding? We are finding this angle. So across from it, so it's 8. So 8 squared. Josh. The cross from the angle you have to find, or the cross from the angle you have to use, is always the one that's out by itself. Remember, these are only variables. You have to make sure you understand what are they. This says the angle you're using and the one across from it is what we have here. So you have 8 squared is equal to, the other two sides don't matter. So 10 squared plus 12 squared, or you can have 12 squared plus 10 squared, it doesn't matter, minus 2 times 10 times 12 cosine of x. You can see, you can put c, just because it's a variable. It's a c, x, whatever you want. I just,
never had to put cosine of C.
you can put cosine of x, cosine c. This is a variable.
But up there you put C.
It's a variable. Variable changes.
So it could be anything.
You could put w, you can put z. I just put x because we're used to solving for x.
T or an O or
Yeah, I probably wouldn't put no either. But you could put anything you want because it's a variable. Now, two things, ladies and gentlemen. You must think of this right here. If I had 10 is equal to 20 minus 2x, what are we going to do first? Subtract 20, and then you would divide by your negative 2. This whole thing is multiplication. When you are solving for the answer, or an angle, your second to last step has to be division. Your second to last step has to be division. Do not combine these numbers here. Alright, so how do we do this? We go 8 squared in our calculator, 8 squared, minus 10 squared, minus 12 squared. Just bringing these to the other side so that I don't have to write them all out, is equal to negative 2 times 10 times 12 cos of x.
Wait, how do we put we put cosine in the
We're going to, the last thing, we're not going to do it until the end. When you're solving, your last step is going to be the inverse.
Why did we 44?
Time out. Okay, one question at a time.
No.
Yes. How would you bring this to the other side? Subtract it. So all I'm doing, you could write 100, but I'm just trying to save time just in case whatever the problem is. And then I subtracted this one because I'm bringing it to the other side. I'm putting this whole thing in my calculator. So, in your calculator, yes, Nick?
Why did you use 10 and 12 when little a is 8?
Because you always, this says, literally this, if I'm going to speak what it says. This says the side across from the angle we're using, squared, is equal to the other two sides squared minus 2 times the two sides cosine of that angle. So you have to use the other two. So the other two are 10 and 12. Does that answer it? Okay. So in your calculators, go 8 squared minus 10 squared minus your 12 squared is a negative 180 equals, in your calculator, go minus a negative 2 times 10 times 112, or times 12 is a negative 240 cos of x. When we're using law of cosines, the second to last step has to be division. So we're going to divide by negative 240. .75 is equal to cos of x. We are going to. Before we do the last step, I want to just remind you, what does this number have to be between? Negative 1 and 1. If this was bigger on either side than negative 1 and 1, the triangle would not exist. It has to be between negative 1 and 1. Now, how do you solve for an angle? Cos inverse. Cos inverse of 0.75. Throw that into your calculator.
41.
Say it again. If we rounded here, if this was rounded, and I don't even remember if that was rounded, if 180 divided by your negative 240, yeah, it's not rounded. If this was rounded, what I would have taken is I would have taken cos inverse of my answer. Just so that you don't round twice. Questions? All right.